Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a rainy Tuesday, and we're wondering why it's raining in February, 13th of February.
Johnny, I'm not wondering. I love the rain.
You love the rain?
I had been waiting. I was waiting to get it, and eventually it came down.
Is it not too early?
But Johnny, even right from last year, the pattern seemed to have changed, so it's not surprising.
Well, last year was March, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes.
But along the time, around December, we had some rainfalls which were unexpected, and then even in August, we had a few showers, you know, here and there. So I think the pattern is just changing, but that's where we should be concerned, because then it means the environmental degradation is real, and it's spoiling the environment and changing the climate.
Three thoughts. One, either that God is washing away the sins that people may commit tomorrow in the name of Valentine, or there's climate change, or that God is answering our water shortage issues.
It could be all three in one, really.
Johnny, but you see, I really don't care whether it is too early or too late or in the middle or whatever, because look, I have put so many things in the earth, and I needed rain because I keep watering it with water from the standpipe, and it's not helping me. My bills are going up.
Okay. Right, you see, at this point, the farmers are getting ready to, they are tilling the dirt and they are preparing the grounds. If it starts raining heavily like that, how can they do any preparation?
But obviously, we hope it's probably a one-off. We hope it's not a season. It's not going to be a whole rainy season, but maybe some rains, heavy rains, just to cool down and make the soil even soft for the farmers to be able to till their land and get us produce. Yes,
but I mean, more seriously, if you don't have a reason to go out this early, don't go out, because you know, driving here, we saw cars that had fallen into gutters already. The streets are filled with water, and it's quite dangerous. So if you don't have to go out, please just stay hold on, safe. I saw some children walking in the rain, and I was like, wow.
At that time,
yes, this was about 5:20
a.m. I think those who have to travel a distance before they get to school, we saw them out there.
And so this is in Accra, so you can imagine what's happening in the villages.
I get the gutters, Johnny. The gutters are choked, and so the water is finding itself on the road.
Streets,
almost every road where I drove had water on it, and you got to be very careful. If you're leaving home and in fact you have to go, then be careful. Your brakes are very weak now, not as functional as they would be if there were no rains. So be careful the speed at which you're driving, else you find yourself in trouble. So good morning now to you, the wonderful Tuesday
and to all our driver friends.
Yes, be careful.
Be very, very careful.
And Johnny, and kudos to our producer Anthony Jackson. The team is doing great. They had umbrellas at the main gate, getting all of us into the studio.
You know, there's an African proverb. They say when two people set out on a journey, the tall one leads the way and the short one holds their umbrella.
Really?
Is that why Anthony Jackson?
That won't be. I mean, that wouldn't stand. It's not scientifically proven, because Johnny, if a taller person holds the umbrella, it covers the two of you. The shorter holds it, then it's only it covers only that person.
Anthony brought the umbrella to lead the way so that the tall one can hold the umbrella.
So it's only in Ghana. Why did you say South Africa? Who said it?
I said there's an African proverb.
Oh, I heard South Africa.
I didn't know. I said
but you made it.
No, it's there.
Well,
there's an African proverb that
it's not one of them Mugabe.
When please, Cat Mugabe, but Jacob Zuma is in the news as
well.
Well,
I don't know if he actually followed what happened to good old Mugabe and the fact that the tussle was on for him to leave or not to leave, and eventually he gave in. It looks quite dicey for Zuma.
It does.
If I were his advisor, I would push him to grab.
I don't know why he's still at post, because see, even in Parliament, when he goes there, they heckle him so much that he's not able to make any sense out of what he wants to say. I thought that he would have left, because Charlie, I don't know why our African leaders...
You begin to believe how power can corrupt. It's so ingrained in his mind that he needs to run the country. Without him, the country will fail. And at that point, when they're growing old, I really think some sort of dementia may have set in, and so it's got his brain all boggled up. Because at this point, when everyone is agitating against you, Johnny, just for my own peace, I would actually want to leave, just to, you know...
But is that what they call probably?
Maybe, that's their version of it.
And I'm wondering, what exactly he intends to achieve in 3 months. He said, give me 3 more months to step down. to do what?
I'm
told there are a couple of conferences that he said he wants to attend before stepping down. But the question is, attend those conferences and do what?
Exactly.
And is it possible, for instance, that the South Africans can strip him of certain powers if indeed it has to come to the fact that he has to stay on for the next 3 months? But I wish he would quickly listen and find a way out and leave South Africa.
Right. You see, the South African system is almost like the Zimbabwean system, where the party elects or chooses the president. So you are in power on behalf of the party. The party can decide to yank you off like they did to Mugabe. They can decide to swap you off. And I find it very worrying that we have a lot of African leaders who believe that the destiny of their countries is in their hands. Before you became president, wasn't the country running by its own destiny? I don't know. I don't get it. And sometimes I think it's just greed. As Bright said, you need 3 months to do what? What exactly? If you attend all those conferences, people see you, and then what happens? Will it change the economic fortunes of South Africa?
All right.
Will it change anything?
We hope to see.
He should go and relax.
PRC is also in the news. I was amazed yesterday when the figures that were churning out got into the media. And I was asking, what is happening? This is a commission that initially we were told had been engaged, okay, right from the beginning of this issue of electricity bill reduction. We were told that the commission had been engaged, and so whatever is being said about the figures could likely be where the commission is going to work around with. Then all of a sudden there's a bombshell, and instead of reduction, they're asking for what? An increment?
Yep.
Well, I am hoping that we'll have what it takes to deal with this. But if not, I'm wondering exactly how people will look at the commission and its work. Because there is this perception that the commission is already engaged government in a certain direction, which we're told, which was started by the finance minister. The president himself came in. Now we see a kind of a U-turn by the commission. I'm wondering what will happen to the commission if this doesn't go well.
Is the commission supposed to be independent?
It is. That's what we know.
So then you know that questions were raised about how that bit of tariff adjustment had been put in the budget, and the president subsequently making that promise. And then he said now we will go to the PRC. I saw this coming when the PRC said we're not inviting people to bring. And look, as Bright has said before, there's never a case in this country where the utility companies have gone to PRC and asked for upward adjustment, and they never got it.
Been turned down.
They always get it. And
perhaps just a reduction in the figures.
Yes, a little, but they always get the tariff adjustment. So my point is this, that we have excesses, and these utility companies themselves agree to it, that there's a bus pipe here, there are illegal connections there, they all do know that this is the problem. And yet, they will not solve the problem, but they will wait for the time to be due to go to the PURC, and then they will go and make such demands. So Ghana Water Company, ECG, must be complete in their processes. I've been talking about the bus pipe at the police headquarters, the police hospital, for a long time. It is still there. That's water that's flowing. It's going to nobody's meter. So it's cost for production out there, and it's not the only one. So that the Ghana Water Company is not be able to fix that particular pipe, and yet they'll go to PRS and say the cost of production has gone up,
and so consider it.
And then the PRC will consider it. We're being taken for granted.
But that's where I remember very well what we said, or where our stance was when the president churned out the fact that they were going to talk about the tariffs and reduce it, because we said that you have to go into consultation with the regulatory commission to be able to know that this is feasible. So I don't see how a group of leaders will sit somewhere and per their own permutation assume that this is what the reality will be, because when it comes to that, it feels like you're lying to Ghanaians. Where's the consensus? Where's the meeting point? When we know, even as basic as we understand it, there should have been some negotiations, some talks before you can assume certain figures. But when you push out those figures and the PURC PRC goes on the ground, talks to the actual people involved, the stakeholders, the real people, ECG, Gridco, NETCO, and all, and they say we can't reduce it because of our overhead costs, because of the burst pipes, because of the electricity, illegal connections, then, you know, PRC can't do anything but consider them because they are on the ground and they are suffering.
Is it also possible that they are asking for inputs? Is it possible that the input from the public might be that, hey, we cannot pay what you're asking for, rather we're asking for what...
right, I think that Labour would make this point. I think that other
because the person has told us about 13 and 25.
Exactly. The water coalition guys will make this point.
The public also go in and say that, hey, PRC, well, they said they want this, but we are also saying that this is what we're told, and so this is what we want to be done.
But I'm saying that, look, these concerns will be raised. That's whether they will be heard or not. That's a different matter. Because, you know, not so long ago, Achimota, Kolebu, Kaneshi, and the environs had their own set of issues with ECG. It went on for 3 days. We're told it was a data transfer, and we got so furious about it. If you're transferring data from point A to point B, why should they cause us problem? Now, PURC says they compensate them. Up to now, right? Have you got your compensation?
I haven't, but I'm hoping that...
No, it's not about hope. You know, the PRC said in a matter of 1 week, give them the compensation.
I'm a poor consumer.
So if they are not giving you the compensation,
if I don't get the compensation, where do I go? I carry a weapon and go and
PRC.
Go where?
You see, the PURC by its own dictate said,
my grandmother doesn't even know where the office is.
In a week, by the next cycle, do that. Today is the 13th of February. The compensation has not come. PRC is silent, and they are rather talking about tariff adjustment and increment. You see how we do things in this country.
So the poor consumer
and you see, if I run a small cold store and my light goes off for 3 days and the meat or fish goes bad, and you're asking ECG to compensate me with 1 CD 75 pesos, what am I going to use it for? What am I?
So maybe that's why ECG is not even doing it, because they know the Ghanaian won't benefit from that and doesn't want it.
Come on.
So, because you just gave them a perfect scenario where really, what will 1 CD 70 pesos do for you?
What will they do?
It won't do much.
And the PRC, I don't know, but Charlie.
Anyway.
All right. Okay, it's a raining Tuesday morning. A lot of rains out there, but we're stepping on the brakes for now. And when we're back, Anthony Jackson is joining us with all
the special prosecutor will come and talk about the rain.
Yeah, I guess so. He has all the news when he joins us. Stay there. The show has just taken off.
Good morning to you. My name is Anthony Jackson, and this is the news for this morning. Now, a former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayini, has filed a suit to challenge the nomination of Martin Amidu for the position of Special Prosecutor. Dr. Ayini, the National Democratic Congress MP for Bolgatanga East, is praying the Supreme Court to halt the appointment because 66-year-old Mr. Amidu is gone past the retirement age for public office holders. This action comes barely 24 hours to the vetting of Martin Amidu by the Appointments Committee of Parliament. Now, reacting to the filing of the suit, the Corporate Affairs Manager of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Michael Bwedi, however, argues the Special Prosecutor's Office has the powers equivalent to that of an appeal court judge, and that some of them are 70 years and still serving. He is of the view that the suit could prolong the establishment of that office.
Martin Amidu was billed to appear before Parliament's Appointments Committee on Tuesday to begin vetting procedures. Corporate Affairs Manager of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Michael Bwedi, says the latest twist to the man's nomination could prolong the setting up of the Special Prosecutor's Office.
We are both anxious. The alleged perpetrators of crime are anxious to have their day in court. The country is anxious to get their resources retrieved. So any delay hurts everybody. All stakeholders are not happy with delays in the prosecution of crime in this country. And therefore, that is why GII would hope that the whole process will be handled expeditiously.
Michael Boedi believes the suit will serve as a test case for the Supreme Court to handle and bring to finality the issue of retirement age in Ghana.
The law makes the OSP position as a
Private legal practitioner Martin Pegu has been speaking to my colleague Edward Kwabi on the suit against Martin Amidu and the possible ramifications.
A former deputy Attorney General is seeking or praying the Supreme Court to declare that Mr. Martin Amidu, who has been nominated as the special prosecutor, is unfit for office. This is because he's 66 years old, which is above the 65 years old that public office holders should be. I've been joined by legal practitioner Mr. Martin Pegu to share his thoughts on this very issue. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time. Now, first of all, many are confused whether or not the vetting of the special prosecutor will come on, considering the latest development to this issue. What are the ramifications?
Okay. Basically, I should say, this is a question for Parliament to answer as to whether tomorrow the vetting would come off or not. But if I'm allowed to look at the precedents, we can hazard a guess. Looking at the way Parliament has operated in the past, it's unlikely that they would want to proceed with the vetting, because in the past, when Parliament has been seized with certain matters, and Parliament discovered that the courts were also seized with the same matters, Parliament would usually decline jurisdiction and would say that since those matters have been placed before the courts of our land, the court should come out of its decision before Parliament would then, if any, proceed with the matter. So looking at past precedents, it's likely that Parliament will not proceed.
Let's look at the content of this very case. They are arguing, or the lawyers for Dominic Aini, they are arguing Martin Amidu is 66 years old, which is a year older than the 65 years old required by a public service officer. Does this law or does this case stand?
Once again, I should say that, because the matter is before the Supreme Court, as a lawyer, I'm not allowed to go into the merits. So I'll be careful not to go into the merits. But to the extent that the public prosecutor is supposed to have the same terms and conditions as a court of appeal judge, generally, we can take notice of the fact that court of appeal judges retire at 70. So if Mr. Amidu is coming on the same terms and conditions as a court of appeal judge, then it's possible that it's 70 that should apply to him. Besides, it's not altogether clear to me that it is meant that the office of the public prosecutor is necessarily part of the public services of Ghana. It's quite a complex matter. I'm sure the court will be looking at that too. Because if you go into the Constitution, you would see the list that's in Article 190. You see the list of the institutions that form the public service of Ghana. The public prosecutor is not part. So we'll leave all those to the Supreme Court.
But from the look of things, even just for the Special Prosecutors Act, it appears that office has been described as an agency under government. What does that mean, being an agency?
That's the point that I was raising, that so it may well be that this is a special agency and not necessarily part of the public services of Ghana. Yes, so that is what I said. So the Supreme Court will look at that, because the Constitution in Article 190 has listed all the institutions that form the public services of Ghana, and that's where the age limit of 65 applies. But the public office of the public prosecutor is an agency. That's how it's been described as, and that is not part of that list of institutions in Article 190 of the Constitution. So let's see how the Supreme Court will deal with that matter.
This is a legal tussle of a sort. Do you suspect that this will drag the entire process of confirming or getting a special prosecutor? And do you suspect this will take a longer period for the Supreme Court to adjudicate?
Ordinarily, it would take time, but considering that the issue of tackling corruption is such an urgent one that in natural fact the public doesn't have any more patience with the legal maneuverings and all those, I would imagine that the Supreme Court will hear this case on a fast-track basis, faster than the other cases that have been filed before. Yes, considering this is a very urgent national matter. Yes, the court has the powers and would most likely use those to hear this matter very expeditiously so that the way will be cleared as to whether he can assume office or he shouldn't. I mean, as to whether he should be vetted so that he assumes office or he should not be, and so another person should be nominated for that office.
We're grateful for our time. Legal practitioner Martin Kpebu has been helping us dissect this very issue. It's been trending and it will be trending for the next 24 hours as to whether Martin Amidou will be vetted tomorrow. By the close of day, we'll get to know. Edward Kwabi, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has begun assessing his ministers ahead of a possible reshuffle. The assessment committee is chaired by the President with the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and the Chief of Staff, Firima Opare, as members. 4 cabinet ministers, National Security Minister, Trade and Industry Minister, Regional Reorganization and Foreign Affairs Minister are meeting the panel. The meeting, which began at 5 p.m. Monday, will be a weekly practice until all ministers are assessed. The quiz will determine the future of the president's appointees as a possible reshuffle is in the offing. Now, the New Patriotic Party has warned individuals or groups within the party to stay away from buying the constituency election forms in bulk. At the launch of the Constituency Delegates Conference in Accra, the General Secretary, John Boedu, said such actions will not be countenanced until, since previous incidences have caused some challenges the party is still battling with.
The National Steering Committee of the New Patriotic Party has considered and approved rules and regulations for the conduct of the constituency primary schedule from February 21 to 24. Per the regulations, the Constituency Elections Committee to conduct the elections at the scheduled date will be constituted.
Only prospective aspirants are entitled to purchase application forms from the Constituency Elections Committee. All that we are saying is that we don't want a situation where one person will come and buy all the forms and decide to be the one distributing to prospective applicants. If you want to contest election, you yourself go to the Constituency Election Committee and purchase one form, and your name will be indicated against your name and the position you want to contest for.
Applicants will have to pay to the chairperson of the Constituency Elections Committee a non-refundable nomination fee of 200 cedis for chairperson position and 100 for other positions. The party ended its polling station and electoral area elections in January 29 with some areas experiencing some controversies. 7 constituencies still have issues, including lawsuits, which the General Secretary stressed are being addressed.
Our legal team, led by Nana Obribwine, my Deputy General Secretary, is competently handling these issues and making significant strides at resolving them.
The party has therefore directed each of the 10 regional executive committees to organize an expanded regional executive meeting comprising all the constituency executives.
Now, the Vice Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Kwame Jantua, expects the discovery of lithium in the Volta region to be actively channeled into creating jobs for the people of the area. Speaking to our reporter, Eben Ajakumbuatin, he underscored the need for value addition to rake in more revenue.
Which is among the top 10 most expensive minerals in the world, was discovered in the Volta region by the Minerals Commission. It is used in aircraft manufacture as lithium hydroxide is used to absorb carbon dioxide in space vehicles. Lithium is alloyed with aluminium, copper, manganese, and cadmium to make high-performance alloys for aircraft. It can also be used in the manufacture of certain batteries, heat-resistant glass, and ceramics. It is also used in mental health, as lithium carbonate is a common treatment of bipolar disorder, helping to stabilize the wild mood swings caused by the illness. The commodity is mixed with oil to make all-purpose and high-temperature lubricants. Vice Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Kwame Jantua, suggested value addition to the mineral.
Current discovery of lithium in the Volta region, I would hope that in extracting the lithium, we are not going to export it whole.
The CEO of African Energy Consortium noted its full potential in its value chain for economic development should be exploited.
It definitely needs power to do even the first line processing of the product. And that is what we require. That first line processing will create jobs for the people in that area. And the communities would at least be able to earn some income.
It is priced at more than $20,000 a ton on the Chinese spot market for battery-grade material, according to research house CRU.
And that's it for the news this morning. NewDay takes a break. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome back. Let's do newspaper headlines now. Starting off with Daily Heritage, it says, Amidu too old to be special prosecutor, says MP who has dragged the citizen vigilante to court. Also, GPITU is telling passengers not to pay increased fares. Also, Mrs. Kakra Dufonyako on International Day of Women and Girls in Science, which is celebrated on February 11th. Then also, Daily Heritage report gets results as Gas South Education Director donates desks to Tebu Basic School. Well, not say that started here on TV platform,
so
the Table Basic
the point
School,
is that,
but there has been some relief, and we're grateful.
We're happy that there's a lot. But I'm interested in the girls or women in maths and science thing. I think that drive started a long time ago. I don't seem to see a lot of commitment in that direction anymore. I don't see a lot of commitment in that direction anymore. And I would have wished that we would have pushed on the ladies and the girls in science and maths. Because look at Professor Iramadi, look at Dr. Hoffman, for example. And there are so many examples to show that they can compete ably on the international front, even on the local front and all of that. So this perhaps will be a call to the Minister for Education that look at these initiatives again. Vote money into it. Let's not leave it for private individuals and people who have NGOs to start pushing it. Because if they do well in that, it will inure to our benefit eventually as a nation. But you're a scientist. I mean, you are a beneficiary of when that first one started. Today you're a medical doctor. So there are many more who want to be like you or even better than you.
That's a problem. That's a problem. You see, over here, you see it in the newspapers, they attend big conferences in Accra, Kumasi, and they talk about it. That is where it ends. Go down there to the local areas where these girls are supposed to be supported to like mathematics and science. They don't have what it takes to attract them. The structures are not there. The equipment are not there. So they sit in Accra, they talk at the conferences, girls in maths and science. Down there, you go to a school, go to a junior high school, and not a single science equipment for the school. So most of them in rural communities will run away from science. Because when they see a common thermometer, they are scared. Because they never saw one at the basic level. So it is just a matter of talking at the conferences. When it gets down there,
And it
you don't find anything.
There's
a school. Look,
the Bika, the regents, they don't get them.
Yeah. District education authorities in one of the villages, one of the districts I visited in the Upper West, the Fiamabusi are putting up a junior high school solely for girls, okay, just to encourage more girls to go to school. Yeah. I'm telling you, they don't have textbooks. They virtually have nothing. So they are just there. Okay, even water is a problem. So it is just about, let's talk about it here and let the people feel it is working. But when you go down there, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And it's very sad because in this day and age where technology seems to be the drive of every industry, you would want to think that people would be so interested, especially government, because it generates revenue, people become more creative and will solve a lot of Ghana's issues. But I mean, like Bryce said, it becomes talk. They want to have conferences and meetings to look like we're doing something, you know, to push the MDGs and the Sustainable Development Goals. But that is not the way to go, because there are so many women in science who have made great impacts in Ghana. We see it. I mean, the difficulty comes when you don't see the impact, and so you feel you're putting your money in some place that won't generate revenue. But this is a field that does generate so much revenue and does solve issues for a lot of countries. So why aren't we interested
we have had scientists, female scientists in this country whose names have made it into the Guinness Book of Records, you know, and there are so many examples to show. I like the example Bright gave that, you know, we have a basic school specifically for girls. Yeah. And in Accra, we've had the Bishop Girls School. If you go to the Bishop Girls School and you try and link it to all the secondary schools and maybe the universities they attended, you could see that they turn out better because even there are teachers who oftentimes turn out to be, and for me, that's a proper pepper them. They bring the ladies up in a particular way, you know, shaping their minds and conscientizing them that, look, you're a homemaker, the world depends on you, that kind of thing. So aside the basic curriculum that they're getting other training as well. I tell you what, if we focus on women and child training in this country, knowing that they are the bigger chunk of our population, we will go very far.
Yeah, it's true.
We will go very, very far.
Johnny,
trust me.
When we went to school, to further confirm this issue that it is only talk at the top and down there is nothing. When we went to school, we realized that those of us who are from rural communities, all of us were running away from science and maths. Okay, because our schools didn't have what it takes to attract us into science and mathematics. Okay, so we found only those from the big schools in Accra, Kumasi, who were going for science courses and subjects. Those of us from the rural areas.
You're scared. I mean, had you at that time, had you seen a slide before?
No, I mean, no.
A microscope? You hadn't seen it before.
So you're being set against a bigger challenge, but you don't have the basic
tripod, you're not seen it before.
understanding of all
So
things.
it is good to talk about it, but I guess that a lot more will have to be done.
You see, right, it's the investment. And I think that, look, even the science resource centers that were built to facilitate the learning of science for both male and female. What is the state of these science resource centers? They're supposed to have science resource center buses. These buses have outlived their usefulness, and we need to change the buses. Have we changed them? So if, for example, you come from Esikuma or Dobin Bracko and there's a secondary school there, and you have to come to Nyamransa Junction for your science resource center training, and there's no bus, means that week you will not go anywhere. And I wonder, why do we, and you see, we don't look at it from the perspective that it is a cut in our curriculum. Because for 2 weeks, if the children do not go to the science resource center, it means that they have lost credit hours, and that will go against them. But the people who have the students who have the science resource center situated in their schools would have had their science resource center days. We don't think about some of these things. We think that will be fine.
We'll see.
Why?
Because oftentimes what they see is the fact that even those who didn't get the chance to go to these resource centers still pass BC, and so kudos. Everything goes on as it is.
Let's make them better.
That is the idea. But you know how Ghana works now. Everything, so far someone was able to pass from that school, it means that maybe the resource center is not really a determining factor. So let's go on.
No, I insist, let's make them better. Look, if somebody doesn't have access to all these things, and yet is able to pass with, say, aggregate 18 or 21, imagine what the person would be able to do if you gave the person all the resources and give. Look, these people in the villages, I tell you what, they can make all the wants you have not given them a chance to explore.
Right.
You have not given them a chance to shine.
Right.
And yet you are putting them up against people who have been giving everything. It is not fair.
Right.
It's not fair.
But Mr. Amidu is also on the news. They're saying he's too old.
There's a vetting coming up today.
It's supposed to.
It's supposed
to
to
the
be
best of
today.
our knowledge, it hasn't been changed. And so hopefully, well, apart from maybe the rains that will hinder them, it hasn't been changed. But he's been sent to Supreme Court saying he's too old, 66 years old, because according to our constitution, there should be, let me read it. So, 1992 Constitution, the retirement age of all holders of public office created pursuant to Article 1D is 60 years anyhow, not beyond 65. And so, there are some concerns about the age. But there are also public office holders who have gone beyond that age for specific reasons. And so,
for good reason, that's
right.
what it says.
So
for
I'm
good
not
reason.
sure
so
what.
Let's see what the Supreme Court will say.
It's a matter the court will
determine.
determine.
I mean, I don't want us to get it as
but I am interested in the vetting because for me it is key to know the person who is coming in to do this job and how well he will sit in to do the job. In situations where the vetting sometimes is not the way those of us who sit behind and watch, the way we feel it should be done, it discourages you from following what is happening. I think this is a very important position, the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So we should be very interested in what happens there, particularly with the fact that, for me, if such a person goes to the office and he does not have what it takes to do the investigations. We were told that he will have the opportunity to do his own investigations, and that means that he needs resources. Those who have worked at the Attorney General's office have said that it is not easy at all to marshal evidence to go against a person in court. It needs a lot of time, resources. Now, if these are not there, one of the reasons why the Attorney General's office seemed to be unable to prosecute certain cases is the same lack of resources. Now, is he going to face the same thing? And in a situation like that, what would he do? These are some of the questions that I guess he will need to answer so that we know exactly what he is coming in to do. So let's hope that the court case will not stop the vetting. I'm told Parliament can do everything except to change a man into a woman. So maybe even with the court, they will go ahead. And
I would want to see a regime where we don't have people around the vetting table asking, you know, what would you do different? What are you bringing on board? We have the law that sets up the Special Prosecutor's Office, and we have the mandate that's properly been stated. So he asks, what will you do? It's more like asking a person to reinvent what will be done. I don't get more business.
Anyway, but GPRTU is also telling passengers not to pay increased fares. And, you know, it's interesting when they say this because the reality on the ground is if I sit in a trotro and the main says it's 2 CDs and I knew it was 1 CD 50 pesos before. I mean, what the mates will tell me is either you pay or you get down. Because they don't enforce it on the ground, and this is the truth.
GPRTU. So you're asking them to talk to the drivers.
Exactly.
GPRTU is being
populist. The point is to sanction anyone who then has increased the fares because you haven't sanctioned it. And it means the person is breaching your law. But to tell me, the passenger, not to pay becomes difficult because they twist your hand to even pay. I mean, sometimes you don't even know what the previous fare was. So how do you know the increment? So you should put them out.
Doesn't have control over its people. Finish.
So
end of story.
So
they should stop being populist. This is being populist.
Johnny, GPRTU, like you said, there is another group.
Protois or something.
So those drivers are not under GPRTU.
But that's what I'm saying, that they don't have control over their people. So they are sounding pedestrian.
So they are talking to their...
but even their people, even the GPRTU members, like Amma said, they go on and charge first. Sometimes, I mean, you may pick a Trotsky from Achimota and you're coming to Accra. And then they study the terrain, know that, oh, there are not enough vehicles plying the route. So they decide that, well, let's increase it. Nobody does anything to them. I mean, and they go past GPRTU's stops. There's nothing. So GPRTU, for me, I think that they need to wake up if they want us to take them serious.
Which of the officers is talking in the heritage?
I don't take them serious.
I think it's just, I'm not sure.
I think that they are very being
Okay.
populist in that attempt. Don't pay increase first. When you know that your people are taking increase first already, and you say don't pay increase first.
talk to
and
your
see,
people,
they are
not
the
to the
same
end
people
user.
who come on radio and TV and say that, well, fuel has prices have increased by 3, 4, 5 times, and we have not charged anything. What are you suggesting to your drivers?
It's time to check.
All right, exactly. So silently start putting
Do
it.
your
And you
own
know,
thing.
they do the test drive with these new prices. They do it for some time, and then they will go and check it, and then issue a certain list or schedule, and then they come and present it and say this is what they agreed with the Ministry of Transport. Really, really.
All right.
Don't mind GPRT.
Please mind them.
Pay and get to your destination.
I mean, but if we knew the fares, if they were quoted somewhere, you know, from Accra, let's say Achimota to Kaneshi is 5 CDs. Everybody knows it's a fair deal. We all listen. But here is the case where the price is determined by the mate and his driver, as and when they feel like you're on the
as for that, the prices are published.
They are published,
but then
Johnny, when you get on the ground, it's different. It varies.
So they publish the prices in January. By May, the prices would have changed because even the ones that have 5 pesos or so added to it, the mates themselves, they round it up because they will tell you
they don't have
can't.
The change.
Yes,
exactly.
So they have rounded it up.
All
and
right.
then after some time, they start taking extra from you.
Okay,
let's
see how it goes.
Anyway.
But hey, but the rains are out there, so be careful on the road. I'm sure a lot of you are now leaving home to your offices and wherever you do business this morning. Be careful.
Let me say a quick happy birthday to Barbara Ansa. I'm told you're a teacher at the Esuchari Junction Basic School. Barbara Ansa is a teacher at the Esuchari Basic School. This is from Yabosumpem, your friend. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Tomorrow is Valentine. And for those of you who are faking to have been born on the 14th of February, Dr. Okoboy has
Johnny,
seen all
today is
and
also...
those of you breaking up with your partners just the day before,
it's allowed. It's allowed. It's allowed.
Oh, Johnny,
but as doctors, you do counseling too, right?
Yeah, we do, but I don't want to be seeing too many patients on February 14th just because of heartburn. So.
Amma Kudon's birthday is also today. Mary Amma Kudon Majima is a veteran journalist.
Right.
This is from Elvis Darko. Happy birthday.
Oh, Senior Elvis. Senior Elvis, Charlie, the people don't come. Senior Elvis, show us some love. Senior Elvis went to pay the TV license to watch receipts.
Amma does a lot of work with the environment, and she's very good at it, trying to draw attention to the environment. Great. But happy birthday, Amma. And maybe we'll be there to pass through and see.
But it's time to take a break now,
yes,
guys.
God has washed away all the sins today. Don't commit any sin tomorrow, please. I beg you.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on New Day. Stay with us.
Right, the BNFT says Registrar General rakes in 75.2 million cedis in 2017 as online registration source. That's the story. And MEDA intensifies energy efficiency campaign. That's on the BNFT. The custodian says Akufo-Addo hails robust economy, but minority says prices of Kofi Brookman, pepper, Kobe, Calipo, and salt are high. Then, if we take a look at the Statesman, it says NDC fights Martin Amidu in court over special prosecutor job, and NPP begins constituency elections. The Vanguard, cop robs pastor at gunpoint, and you can't be at my vetting today. Martin Amidu there talking. Those are some of the papers I have with me this morning. My guest is a member of parliament for the Lejokuku constituency in the Greater Accra region, a member of the NPP, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
I hope you managed to drive through the rain safely.
Oh, yes. You know, we those in government are very serious, and we take every assignment seriously.
Okay.
So you can see I'm here.
Right.
Even in the rain.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Right, so it's been raining, and your road, the Lekma Road, I guess once the rains are in, a lot of trouble there, I guess. But Sure, preparations are still ongoing to get the road fixed.
Yeah, once you've mentioned the road, let me say a very good morning to the Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways, the Honorable Amakwata.
He's promised you fixing the road.
Yes. So I've always been visiting him, and I'm very confident that first quarter of this year, by the grace of God, we should see some work on the road. I've been talking to the contractor as well. The expectation of 3 constituencies, not only one, is to get that road in front of the Lekma Hospital fixed. Lejikuku, which is my constituency, Krowo, which is a neighboring constituency, and that of Tama West. Carlos is
Spintex Road.
Yes. So, yeah, we are. You see, they say faith is the evidence of things not seen, and the substance of things hoped for.
Okay.
So that is what is operating now. Let's hope it comes.
Right. Thanks so much for joining us. We're still waiting for a rep from the NDC. Now, let's start with Mr. Martin Amidu's vetting today. Some of the papers have it. A unique challenges Amidu's appointment at Supreme Court. The statesman, that's the finder, the statesman put it, NDC fights Martin Amidu in court. And the Heritage says Amidu is too old to be special prosecutor. Those are the headlines. And kind of taking away the shine from the vetting this morning. But Dr. Kubo, you were a member of parliament. Perhaps, if you have any information as to whether the vetting will come off or not?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say a very good morning to all your viewers. A very good morning to my senior brother, the Honorable Matthew Poku Prempenapo, and also to Honorable Jogate. Yeah, these are my very good friends in the parliament. All are my friends, but my senior friends.
Your special friends.
Yes. You see, corruption is the only single reason for our state today as a country. This is a country that is blessed with everything you can think of. With gold, timber, now with oil, we have manganese. Every mineral is in this country. Yet, we struggle to take care of basic things like fixing even feeder roads. May she rest in peace. Our sister who lost her life tragically some few days ago. Corruption can be the reason for all this. In fact, not can be, is the reason. Why was the contractor not doing the work since somewhere last year? It's been months now. Those around said the heap of gravel had been there. When you go and check, it's our payment. Now, if you have 5.4 billion claims being established by the Auditor General as fraudulent or fictitious, what it means is that this 5.4 billion would have ended up in hands who have not worked for it. When it could have done the Lekma Road, fixed, giving us the 6 million needed for operationalization of the University of Ghana, medical facility, fixed other roads which are killing our citizens, be able to pay for vaccines that will sustain our children, and pay for free SHS. So I always say this, and let me state it again. If you're a leader, you cannot be the author of wanton corruption and double at the same time as the father of a buoyant economy. You can't have both. That's how the world is. You end up pushing your people into poverty and, how do you call it, want, or creating opportunities for them. You have to choose one. And it is the reason why this government spent a whole year crafting a bill to make sure that we create an office that the whole country can have confidence in. That when such an office starts a process, is not born out of malice or political persecution, but it is to recover proceeds. And look at the object. I came with the act. The act establishing the Special Prosecutor Office Act, the 2017 Office of Special Prosecutor. Now look at the object of the act. The object of the office, that's section 2A, investigate and prosecute specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses, recover the proceeds of corruption and corruption-related offenses, and take steps to prevent corruption. These are the 3 objects of the office. Now, are these objects not noble?
Yeah.
This is the noblest of objects you can have. Yet, today, you have elements within the political party taking steps, deliberate and conscious steps, to frustrate the process of establishing such an office.
How?
It's obvious. When you have, now look at the support that Martin Amidu has had from across this country. An overwhelming support. In fact, some civil society organizations like CDD mentioned that the only reason now why they now believe that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo means well when he says I want to fight corruption is because he named Martin Amidu. And yet, you have an opposition party, and this reminds me of Christ when he came. Their own has been chosen as what? The candidate for special prosecution. And yet they are fighting him. Now, why?
Are they are they fighting the law or they're fighting Martin Amidu?
Oh, my brother. They were part of the crafting of this law in Parliament. And they contributed. In fact, they were the most ardent contributors in Parliament. We came with the drafting. So, for us, it's like from the word go, we're sort of comfortable with most of the content. They shaped. In fact, they said we should remove the independent and make it. It was removed. Now, after having helped to create a law, you now send one of your own members, and this was in the offing. In fact, from day one, we knew that their attitude showed that they would frustrate the process. Some had hinted that they were going to even to court to challenge whether you can have another office prosecuting when it's supposed to be solely the AG. But I think maybe after consultations, they realized that that might not hold in court. Now they are going to hide in the age factor. Now let's come to that. But by the way, as for the vetting, is going to come.
I was going.
Yeah, it will happen.
So you can confirm.
It's confirmed. Both sides, and that is the paradox, the duplicity with words or the behavior. You have on one hand.
Do you think the Dr. Ayini is fighting the office, or it is the person occupying the office that he says perhaps he has issues with?
But if you look at what he's stating in court, he's mentioning the age of Martin Amidu.
Yeah, so he's not fighting the office of the special prosecutor. He is only saying that the person who's been appointed will need to satisfy certain conditions. If
you read the rate, the bottom, it mentions those who are strictly affected by its action, directly affected. The AG is mentioned, and then you have Martin Amidu. Now, let me tell you something.
But there is a rate asking that change the person, or it is saying that don't set up the office.
Good. Now let me make, there's a clear distinction here.
Right.
If he had raised issues with some of the provisions that constitute the bill or the act now, maybe in terms of the legality, like the way what's the name, Chachu Chikata went to challenge the creation of the fast track court. That is a challenge of the institution.
All right.
Or the office. But for this one, he's not touching on any of the sections in the act. He's referring to the candidate, the nominee, and his age directly. You see, so that is the factor. What it means is that if it had been another candidate who had satisfied the age in their understanding, then they wouldn't have gone to court. But let's come to the age, just for education purposes. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I always say that.
I wish we would not tread.
No, I'm not going.
These are issues that
I'm not going to the merits.
Right.
But you know, the funny thing is that anytime anybody takes a matter to court, the reason why you take it to court is that you believe you win. That is not contempt. Your belief of the entire process, how it will turn out, is natural based on where you start. So we believe that it does not hold water, but it's only the cause that can determine.
Right.
But for listeners to appreciate what is happening, their simple claim is that the office is synonymous to that of an appeals judge court, right? Appeals court judge. Yeah. And they retire at 70 years. So they are saying that this is an office that gives you security of tenure for 7 years. And Martin is 66. So when you add 7, then you are looking at what? 73.
73.
Yes. Now, so their claim is that since he would go beyond 70, then he is not fit. But you see, the law, when you compare to that of the appeals court, you've been given security of tenure, but we are saying that your office, what the privileges is compared to that of what the appeals court.
Right.
There are a lot of things that comes with an appeals court judge: remuneration, the privileges, offers, the perks, a lot of things, and the responsibilities. If you go and pick the age, the question is that assuming Martin was 60 years, are we saying that stricto sensu he had to complete the 7 years even if his body
unable to perform?
Is unable? You see, it is only a security of tenure.
So your point is that perhaps when he hits the age 70, he can be removed or he can be replaced.
No, I mean, there are many possibilities. I don't even want to go into that, but that is one of them. He can also say that based on his age and all that, he's retiring and all that. And you know the funny thing, I had one of my friends in the opposition, the NDC, saying that, why would you give it to a 66-year-old man? He goes away at age 70, just in 4 years, and spend money to now get a process to get a new one. But if that is the argument, if it's about saving money or it's about cost, why do we appoint some Supreme Court judges who are supposed to retire also at 70? Some at age of 68. Some even go to the Supreme Court. Within a year, they are going home. Chief Justice. We've had Chief Justices who were close to the age of 17 as well. So, my brother, it is clear that the real intent and motive is not about the age. It's to find any other thing.
That is your opinion.
Oh, but that is the opinion of them, many who are in this country. Look, when you have elements within a party who during their tenure happen to have caused a lot of bleeding. When I say bleeding, I'm talking about waste of the public purse. To the extent that you had a Supreme Court judge reviewing documents at the Supreme Court and saying that, look, after having looked at all these documents, what we had was a situation where people sat around the table, created an enterprise called public judgment debts, created money, and then shared. Not all those in the government then, the erstwhile government, the NDC, can be said to be corrupt or were part of such. Maybe there were some who did that. Let me grant them that. But if now you've moved beyond have a history of creating such problems for the country to frustrating a mechanism which is meant to address the corruption that was created in your tenure, now we cannot even now perceive you anymore as just having supported corruption. You are moving to the level of wrecking the nation. I don't want to call them nation wreckers, but what they are doing, look at the object. You are taking steps to prevent corruption, investigate corruption, and now we need Amidi to start working as soon as possible. And you have one of their own.
Is Mr. Martin Amidi the only person who can fight corruption?
You know what?
Or let me put this question this way. Is our fight against corruption supposed to be personified in one person, one individual?
You know, one of the biggest challenges we've had as a country is not the availability of potent laws that can get corrupt officials prosecuted and how do you call it, prosecuted and then declared guilty. Not that we don't have the laws. What do we lack? What we lack is prosecutors. I'm talking about state prosecutors, whether it's the Attorney General, but an officer of the state who would have the guts, the confidence to go after corrupt officials, whether they are in or out of government. In fact, so the wish of this nation, every Ghanaian is aware. And guess what? When this bill was passed, everybody, the whole nation went into a state of excitement. Not because a new law now has been passed that will make it possible to get officials. It's because we now have a candidate, when the nominee was announced, who has the guts and the track record for making sure that the laws are applied in court. He's not a judge, but obviously you have the courage to state the laws and get our proceeds back given to the nation. So the excitement of Ghanaians was not about the creation of a new law as part of the Criminal Offences Act, but an individual, of course, backed by an office, who has the guts to nail officials that are being involved in corruption.
And you think that office alone can prosecute this agenda of fighting corruption?
But it's clear that is their remit or their purview is to go for specific cases of corruption by public officials and political actors. And that is where the huge sums are. Sometimes when people say that, what about the one who goes to steal maybe markers in the classrooms and all that? Yeah, that is corruption as well. But we are talking about massive hemorrhage. When you are bleeding from the finger, it's not the same as bleeding from a big vein in the neck. The bleeding from the neck can kill in seconds. The finger can be protracted. Now, my brother, people sometimes say, oh, Obama said we need strong institutions. Who creates the institution? Institutions, when they have a record of being strong, is not as a result of robots or the office, the fiscal walls. It's the individuals who work there over years. And that is why the president mentioned in the State of the Nation address that looking at the outpouring of love and support for Amidou, it will create the momentum, it will give him the momentum to set in motion the, how do you call it, the standard for what? The Office of a Special Prosecutor. And it is the individuals who work in the Office of a Special Prosecutor over the years that would help create an institution with a record and integrity of being strong, firm, unbiased, and very objective. That is important.
Let's go to the vetting this morning in Parliament. For Mr. Martin Amidou, and for you are not a member of that committee. Your colleagues are on that committee, but I'm sure you'll be watching keenly the proceedings. What is it that should satisfy the members of the committee that this is a person ready to prosecute the mandate that he's been handed over to him?
Yeah, you know, the act actually mentions what the qualification of what you need to satisfy before you can become the special prosecutor.
Right.
And honestly, the president was very meticulous and his team in making sure that the candidate that was mentioned satisfied all of the provisions. I was just trying to get it, and for the sake of listeners, read, but I think I'm having some. But basically, what they are going to do is to see whether there is any particular situation that would make it impossible for him to become the special prosecutor, such as having a criminal record. I mean, when you have a criminal record, it's stated clearly that you cannot be the special prosecutor. Also, I think you should have worked for 12 years. Right. I mean, yes. I mean, yes. You should have worked for 12 years, and then also you should have been how do you call it? You should have been one with integrity that is beyond any doubt across board, and you should have so section 13, a person is not qualified for appointment as a special prosecutor if that person owes allegiance to a country other than Ghana. So basically, you need to prove that you are a Ghanaian, yes, and you don't hold dual citizenship or anything. Now, to be of unsound mind under any law enforced in Ghana, has been convicted for high crime under the Constitution or high treason, for any other offense punishable by death. Then, in addition to the requirements specified, the special prosecutor shall possess the relevant expertise on corruption and corruption-related matters. So they will find out whether he has the expertise. And in this country, I say it all the time, it will be difficult to find a citizen who has proven, both by intent and action, to be that, to have a huge, how do you call it, appetite for fighting corruption than Martin Amidou. And look, Amidou, I say it all the time, when you invest your time, resources into pushing an agenda, when in the short term or in the immediate term it looks like it's unrewarding, it's only God who knows when the reward will come. You see, at the time when Amidou, look, this is a gentleman who used his own resources to go and chase monies that would have come to the state if he succeeds, like the Woyome issue. The state is now going after Woyome for him to pay 51 million. Amidou is not even having a percentage out of the 51. But he paid for the filing in the Supreme Court with his own resources. Amidou paid within his resources. In court, all the arguments he made, studying the night, reading the relevant laws, consulting lawyers. He did all that on his own. And who knew that at such a point, one day like we have today, you have the president picking him to be the special prosecutor. So in terms of the record, like you said, possess the relevant expertise on corruption, he's done that. To be a lawyer of at least 12 years standing at the bar, he's done that. But let me come to some of the politics of the vetting. You know, I've listened to the opposition, and they are going to raise issues like Amidou having written some few months before his nomination that he had problems with the law. So some of the things they say is that how can you have problems with the law establishing the office and then take the appointment as a special prosecutor?
Is it not legitimate?
But the funny thing is that they don't go into the details of his his how do you call it, discomfort with the law. He mentioned it specifically. What was Amidu's case? Amidu was saying that the special prosecutor, the office is restricted, the law restricted the prosecutor to specific acts of corruption. Yes.
Act.
And for him, it should have been wholesale. He wanted the special prosecutor to have the powers to go after any other form of corruption. But obviously, if you look at the memorandum that introduced the bill in Parliament, it mentioned that the AG is still in office, the Attorney General. He can go for any other form of crime. But it is for the sake of emphasis and focus that this office was created, so that we can be more efficient at recovering proceeds. So even for Amidu, there are answers to his how to call it?
Discomfort?
Exactly. And the wonderful aspect is that being the first occupant of the office, that's if he goes through the vetting process, what he can do, he's the person most fit to suggest ways of making the office more efficient. So he can tender proposals, recommendations as to how to amend the law, this act, to make it better in the future, based on his experience in the office and the disquiet he had before coming to the office. So I don't think that is substantive enough to disqualify him from holding the office. Secondly, I've heard them, the opposition, raise issues about his bias and this hate. He has some dislike towards them, based on his attitude and some of his epistles he wrote in the past. But you know, my brother, if you've listened to you've listened to Amidu and read his epistles carefully, when you are someone who is robbing the state of resources, and like Amidu put it the last time, when you rape the public purse, he comes after you like an enemy.
Without saying it, without showing the evidence?
No, but this is a gentleman who, outside government, said he believed that an individual had robbed us of 51 million Ghana dollars by then, did not only sleep at home with just a claim, filed writs in the superior, the highest court of the land, went to argue cases before judges, and was able to get this nation to get his money back. And the most outstanding part is that...
But that's only one, and he continues on the tangent of corruption, and yet is unable to show the evidence.
Do you want 1,000 instances before you believe that this is someone who means it when he says it? One is more than enough. You know what it takes to win a case before, not one judge, how do you call it, a cluster of judges, the Superior Court. Even to argue your cases there, you must know what you're about before you go there. And you see, for me, the strongest card Amidu has is the strongest fear that politicians will have with him. The strongest...
That is the fear.
Yeah.
This is not a person who... And the legal minds will tell you that it is not easy at all gathering evidence to go prosecute someone. I mean, this is not a man who sat in the offices of the then government or ministers in the previous government, and yet there is that feeling that he has all the information to nail these persons. You think that he has indeed those evidence that he's been talking about corruption and can deal with his mandate well?
You know, when you talk about evidence, we have an avalanche of them.
Okay.
But we Ghanaians on our own, we are the same persons who have been coming out all the time to say that the Auditor General's report alone makes specific statements and instances where public officers, not only politicians, state actors have taken steps to rob the state of resources, misappropriate funds, and sometimes absolute or outright stealing. The Auditor General's report. And we have shown strong angst, like anger, at the Auditor General just coming to tell us of what has happened and then putting the books on the shelf. What we did not have over the years is a prosecutor with the independence of mind and delinking that person from a party. Look, let's be honest. I've said it all the time. It makes sense. It is understandable why previous ages found it difficult to prosecute members of their own party.
Why?
Oh, my brother, you are at TV3.
They don't have the political will to fight.
It's not even about political
corruption.
will. It's about organizational structure. You work at TV3. If you are asked to be the prosecutor for your colleagues, naturally because you work with them, human relationships, they come on board. And in every organization, especially political party, one of the strongest assets you need to survive is loyalty and togetherness. So that when you make one of the organization one of their own, the prosecutor, even when you see wrong, you act with some inertia.
That is dishonesty.
You don't get it. It is a genuine, how do you call it, difficulty that comes with a member of a group. That is why the president, in his wisdom, says that the best shot is to have an office which you go after people that the AG will find difficult going after.
But don't you also think that that office too is a human being with a family around him?
No.
He has a constituent.
That is why one of the things you must be looking for is one with independence of character. In this country, who has that independence of character? Obviously, others can have. But it's difficult to find many apart from Hamidu. Look, let me tell you something. There are many people who can
Let's wrap up on this.
Yeah, let me wrap up. At least, one of the things I'm happy about is that this gentleman, Hamidu, has a record of resisting requests from a sitting president. May so rest in peace, Professor Mills. He has the capacity to say no to a president when he believes that he has to go after someone.
He was said to have failed to produce the evidence, and that's why he was removed from office.
But it's political correctness. They were being politically correct. They said they accused the gentleman of misconduct. He came out and said, produce the evidence of the misconduct. Don't only state it. Up to today, none of them. They just wanted to preserve the organization, which was then the NDC or the party in power or government. And I understood them. And that is why I'm saying that this law sought to take care of that genuine inherent difficulty of having a member of an organization being the one to prosecute their own. It was difficult. And office of the special prosecutor will go down in history as one of the strongest legacies of this city.
Finally, do you think the politicians are dishonest if they fail to prosecute their own with the excuse that he is one of us or she's one of us?
The same politician, the chief politician now, His Excellency the President, is the same person who has taken steps to create this law. And like someone put it, he's nursing a lion who can come after him.
He could have done this thing without creating this office.
Oh, no, but like I've said, the one now you have Hamidu, who obviously is not from our party.
Could it not have been done without the special prosecutor?
Like I said,
that you not have recovered our money without the special prosecutor?
You have to be, you see, you have to be real. In every organization, like they say in management has three tasks. You look at your mission or vision as an organization. I'm talking about the government now or the state. The second one is about efficiency. The third one is managing the social impact and social impediments. One of the social impediments of government over the years has been that when you have one who is part of the government asked to prosecute his own, it is always difficult. The best way is to have such an office, and you can solve the problem.
Grateful. Let's move to the Finder this morning. The Finder says all eyes on PURC. While government promises drop in utility tariffs, utility companies want increase. The story says that the PRC plans to announce new tariffs by the end of this month. But as to whether the tariffs will go up or down, only time will tell. While government is promising reductions in electricity tariffs, utility companies are, on the other hand, seeking increases. The story says that the utilities are citing foreign exchange losses as reason for seeking the increment, as most of their inputs are imported, in addition to other reasons such as bills paid in cedis and inflation. Quite a huge one. If you look at the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO is seeking over 200% increase in tariffs from 22 pesos per kilowatt hour to 67 pesos per kilowatt hour. That's NEDCO. That's how much they want. The Ghana Water Company says it wants the increased tariffs to expand coverage by making an annual investment of 400 million cedis. And that's Gridco wants from 5 pesos to 6 pesos. So generally, this is the story. Dr. Kubo, so how do we deal with this? The expectation of consumers was to see a reduction in the cost of electricity. And this is what the utilities are asking. How do we handle this?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me say that this government, His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and his team, appreciate the critical role that reliable, affordable power can play in the industrialization agenda. When energy is available, everybody gets excited, especially for domestic users. But for industrial users, availability of power alone is not enough. The next one is the rate, the charge rate, whether it's competitive or not. And in fact, availability as well as affordability issues have led to the collapse of many industries in the past few years. One classical one shut down is that of VACO. In fact, it was only in 2017 that VACO opened one port line. I was just checking going through the budget statement yesterday, and it was interesting. They opened one port line, and just one port line was producing over 40,000 tons of aluminium. And guess the chain, the aluminium availability helped to revive a company like Aluworks. And all these factories were suffering because power, first of all, was not that available, and the rates were also intimidating. 2018, it is expected that VACO will open a second port line, which will now take an additional 200 direct workers and lead to, 80,000 plus tons of aluminium. You know what? There's one interesting aspect as well. VAT from VACO alone, VAT receipts paid directly to the state, is going to amount to about $40 million in this 2018. This $40 million will obviously help improve our foreign exchange situation so that we can help stabilize our city. I'm mentioning all this to let you know that there is a reason why we as government are pushing for a reduction. But how come you have an organization like PURC asking for an increment rather? The reason is very simple. When charges go up, when the utility companies rake in money, you know, PURC also has, according to the formula, they also benefit. You understand? When I say they benefit, there are proceeds that come to PURC as an organization for every increment. I would not say that puts them in a conflict of interest situation, but that is for their operational, usage or operational duties. Now, it's sad, but I have to say this. Anytime government agencies or departments make money in huge amounts, most of the time their lifestyles change. When I say their lifestyles, sometimes they invest within their institution instead of going directly to say that take the check as the major shareholder. I'm talking about government. They would use it. They always have reasons why the money should be invested within the organization. So when you have government coming out to say that based on all the factors that we've taken a look at, rates should come down, I'm not surprised that PURC says it should go up. Now, I want to break it down for the viewer in simplest terms. You see, in the past few years, one of the reasons why we're not having reliable energy supply was that government was failing when it comes to paying for the natural gas, the West Africa pipeline and all that. Government pays because we are the majority shareholder when it comes to VRE. Government is the majority shareholder. It's not a private company. When we fail to pay, VRE suffers in terms of generating power. Right. ECG also suffers. Now, so because we pay for certain inputs when it comes to production of energy, we are aware of the production cost. And one of the main reasons why the president mentioned that rates could come down is because there's been a decline in the cost of liquefied natural gas as a result of the negotiations we've had. We've had better agreements, which makes natural gas available at a lower cost. So we just said that, look, if previously VRA was getting, let's say, their gas for the year, natural gas for the year, at $200 million, and now it's being given to them at $50 million, that's a quarter of the price. It should be possible now to let rates also come down. But we have a situation where the organizations are saying, look, we still need more money to be very efficient, so we can't reduce.
I see.
It's not surprising because they want to rake in more. But we know that we are convinced, based on the prices we have on the table, based on all the measures we've put in, that rates, it's possible to let rates go down.
Is it a matter of government refusal or failing to consult these utilities before going ahead to announce these price reductions?
Well, I I sort of appreciate the question. I mean, because once government hinted of reduction and PRC rather mentions increases, obviously it's a clash. I mean, so it is appreciable to say that there wasn't enough consultation. But you see, government as a player, in terms of being the majority shareholder, is like a board. Government, you can take government like the board and the president like the CEO. The board chairman. Government has an idea of the inputs into producing energy and knows that, look, as the board chairman, I've succeeded in having better deals, which is going to make your cost of production go down. So obviously, I predict a reduction. And then management comes and say, oh, board chairman, although cost of production has gone down, we've always had challenges with getting users to pay this money. And these users also belong to your organization. So please keep it at where it is. It is important that government continues on the line of requesting for a reduction because we are the #1 spokesperson for the ordinary Ghanaian. ECG, if left alone, VRO, if left on their own, will always ask for an increment. They will always ask for more. It is our duty as government to make sure that the rates that they take or charge match their cost of production, and we will insist on the reduction, not for political reasons, but for what is on the books.
Dr. Kuba, your government has promised a reduction, which is now clear from what PRC has put out, that it might not be the case. Now, you're suggesting that government will insist that there's a reduction. How can that be done? PRC, we're told, is an independent institution that is supposed to work on its own. How does government intend to go ahead and cause these utilities to ask for, bring out a reduction?
I want to make it clear. The independence of PURC is in the decision that they come to after having taken the offers or claims from all stakeholders. VRA would be at the table saying that give us an increment. You have ECG over there, you have Gridco, you have government, a rep of government, obviously to be the energy minister or his rep, also at the table. So all these stakeholders will come with their offers or claims. The offer that our rep is putting on the table is that let it go down based on what I have on my books. It is not for PURC to take what government is demanding or take what VRA is demanding. Theirs is to do an analysis of all the suggestions that are on the table and come to a decision. Let me state here that if the decision of PURC goes against that of government, it is within their mandate to do so, and government will respect that decision. But nobody should say that for having asked for a reduction, when other stakeholders are asking for an increment, we are antithetical or diametrically opposed to PRC, and therefore we are fighting their independence. No, we are coming with an offer or a claim. Ours is that based on our inputs, please let it come down. It's legitimate. We are part of the stakeholders around the table, but the power to determine. Right, I hope it's clear.
I'm trying.
I want us to get.
I'm trying hard to get it now, because the key thing here is that if you said you have the figures, and so a 13% reduction and 25% for industry, you think can work. Now, are these figures then not going to bring down these utilities? Because we know that anytime they go below what they have to charge, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So if you insist on these figures, and from the figures PRC is putting, ECG says they want a kilowatt from 22 to 36. NEDCO is asking for 200% increment. Ghana Water is asking for over 400 more investment. So your figures might then pull down these institutions and perhaps bring us back to where we used to be.
You know, the reason for going for a concessionaire for ECG, private sector participation, is to help make them more efficient. Now, when we talk about efficiency, what it means is that you can give more money to ECG, or ECG can ask for more money, but a lot of your money goes down the drain. You understand? I'm just bringing in this factor to let you know that it's not every request that comes from the stakeholders. You get it? That is absolutely tenable. If you go into the operation, they themselves admit losses, generation losses at ECG was standing as at end of 2016 at 24%. Now, if you go international standard, the worst you go, it should be somewhere a single digit, maybe 9 or 10. That should be the worst. They are doing 24%. And it is possible to increase their efficiency and let those rates come down. And every percentage is worth millions of dollars. So look, what we are saying is that government, by asking for reduction, is indirectly telling them that get up and be more efficient. Don't only come to the table asking for money. And the good news is that we are not the final determiner. The final determiner is PRC. Why isn't anybody accusing, let's say, VRA for trying to usurp the authority of PRC by saying increase it? Anyone who makes an offer or a demand is not usurping. They are only stating their mind or their side of the case. The judge at the table is PRC. We are not in any way fighting their independence. The chief executive of government, who is the president, believes that based on the investments we've made and the reduction in the cost of production, there should be a downward trend in the tariffs. The producers are saying that we want an upward trend. They want to do the analysis and come to a conclusion. It's PRC.
How would the president feel if his proposal is thrown away and there are price increases?
Oh, the gentleman, the president is a fine lawyer. Not
He'll
every
go to court?
Not every case that he has fought in court ended up in what, how do you call it, in his favor. Yes, in his favor. So he appreciates that you can always make a fine case, but sometimes the response will be negative. So for us as a government, I always say, this is a president who is very reasonable, believes in making a case.
Is prepared to take the backlash from the public.
But that is why education is important. I've mentioned it that he, as the chief executive of the state, when you take Ghana as a company, believes that looking at the investments is made, the company, assuming it's like the board chairman, the management should be able to let prices go down. If management comes to make their case that it should not go down, and the PURC, based on their expertise and analysis, says that, Mr. President, we know you wish it was driven down, but it must stay up. He looks at their reasons and say, well, then we have to do more to help it get down. Why is the president interested in getting rates down? The reason is simple. Affordable energy leads to stimulation in industry in terms of production. When cost goes down, you are able to make more money in industry. You reinvest, you create opportunities. We are talking about unemployment. How can the companies open up when they are using? Look, I'll not mention his name, but I met one of the gurus in industry in this country. He has a factory which is known across West Africa. He's been producing for the past 30 years. The CEO told me one thing. He said, Doc, when you work in this country, you work for two organizations, GRA and ECG. He said almost 80% of their profits, like all the money they make, goes to these two industries. And he told me, Doc, so we are only operating for these two people. What he's trying to tell you is that there's no way he's expanding to take more people and employ. So when you have a president who is very keen on getting rates down, he is aware that when rates go down, employment can go up. That's what this is all about.
In this situation, therefore, if PRC goes ahead with this increment, the president might have a very difficult situation, because then these SMEs are going to pay very high cost for energy, and that means lack of expansion. So the president's idea of creating jobs might suffer.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very genuine question. You know, I would be, in fact, I wouldn't like to predict it, but I would be very surprised if the rates go up based on some of the investments. I know some of the investments, that the deals that have been made, the monies that billions of dollars have been saved through renegotiation of power purchase agreements and all that. Now, I think the worst that can happen is that we might not have the 14%. That's the worst that maybe the president had wished for. It will be difficult for it to go up.
So you are not expecting an increase?
No. The worst will be to leave rates at. But you see, there are two things that drives industries down, makes them collapse. Energy not being reliably supplied, as in being absent, like the Doomsaw situation, and then the rates. If the rates don't go down like the way we want it in terms of affordability, at least it should be reliable. Like
should be stable.
Excellent. So most of them have survived with a stable power, although the rates have been not being competitive. So what we are trying to do as a government is to make sure that in terms of management of the economy, that's why we went for this ESLA loan, trying to make sure that most of their legacy debts are handled so that liquidity within the industry will be high. They should have money to pay for, to purchase crude, to purchase gas, and do all those things. Look, with all the things that have been done, it will be difficult for us to go to the Doomsaw era. But as for affordability, it's part of the SDGs. I think 8 sustainable development goals 2030. It mentions that we need to have clean and affordable power. It didn't talk about reliable, because affordable power is key to having growth in industry. And this is a government that is talking about one district, one factory.
Finally, you as government communicators, how difficult a job is it for you to convince the people who understood your promise during campaign in 2016 to reduce electricity tariffs, who listened to the finance minister, who went to parliament and actually mentioned figures, who again listened to the president? The State of the Nation address also mentioned figures that this is how much we will go down. How difficult a job is it for you government communicators to convince people that this is a government that means well, but there is a judge in the seat?
I think the irony, the paradox we are seeing now is that you have a government agency that is able to be that strong and tell the chief executive officer of government that you are asking for this. But in fact, now the PRC has not spoken yet. It's the stakeholders at the stakeholder conference. You have, and most of the stakeholders are also agencies of government saying that we are not going to. At least it tells us that our democracy has grown tremendously and institutions are showing some level of independence. But back to what you said, you see, government, we, like me, a communicator of a government, we are like lawyers or advocates for a client. Now, if you are a client and your lawyer makes a strong case in court that you need to be given some particular offer, and the judge says that, well, you've made a fantastic argument, but based on the books and other arguments, I can't deliver that offer. I think it would be strange for the client to go out and accuse me, the advocate, of deception. At least Ghanaians will appreciate the efforts we are making, that we have an intent to let them pay for lower tariffs. Just that's assuming PRC does not give the 14%. Just that other players think that we should tread cautiously and not just go for those rates. Maybe there are other things to take care of. It's just a situation. And honestly, look, Bright, honesty is key. I think anybody who is viewing can see that I've been honest enough, just like the president, like I'm saying, to admit that the final power is not within our confines. That's why the president said, these are what I'm announcing or mentioning, but subject to the approval of what? PRC. Once I say something, I tell you it's subject to the approval of a body, it means I don't have the final power. And Ghanaians, this straight to every viewer, the intent of this government is to make sure that you pay for lower rates. Let's see what comes out at the end of the day.
I'm grateful. He's a member of parliament for the Lejekuku constituency, a member of the NPP. The NDC rep got into the studio when we were almost about to wrapping up the conversation. Dr. Cooper, grateful for your time this morning.
No, but it is important to make sure that those who make the time are rewarded. And those who decided to be affected by the rain. You see, when you're in opposition...
You are speaking for almost 1 hour.
Yeah,
so that's
no, let me conclude by saying that when the state of the weather can determine your presence on a show, it means you have a lot of work to do as an opposition member.
Okay.
It's very important.
All right. Grateful for your time with that. All right. If you sent in comments, we will surely read them. Stay with us. There is more after this.
Baby, and I go tell my mama, and I go tell my papa, and I go tell them, say, baby, waka waka, baby, baby, gonna baby, oh baby, sawale, sawale.
Welcome. So Ayoko is there serenading us with some very beautiful African tunes. Now, as I was saying, the police MTT did this very passionate appeal to you, and the NADMO as well. The rains are out there, the Kaneshi First Light area, the traffic is tight and thick there, and we understand some drivers are playing truant. So please get out there. Obechebe Lamti roundabout, the circle area as well. The Gimpa area we're told is thick there. Please, people need to get to work. The president said we should not get to work late. It's no fault of theirs. Let's try and solve the situation. But let's talk about the judiciary and let's fight against corruption. I've been joined this morning by His Lordship Justice Chebafor and also His Honor Bojitano. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome. And Happy New Year. I haven't seen you this year.
Yes, I
Happy
think
New
so.
Year to all of you.
Yes. Many happy returns.
Thank you. So let's talk about the justice system. We're told that the judiciary is supposed to be a certain hallowed temple, but it has its own set of challenges. Since our last conversation and this new one, what has changed in our fight against corruption? I'll start with you. Just take whichever four.
Very well. Thank you. If you will recall, a week or two ago, there was a banner headlines in the Daily Graphic about some court staff that are alleged to
have spent court fines
and others. And from time to time, we do have such reports. But as the last time we discussed, with the anti-corruption agenda, where one of the cardinal principles we are focusing on is to effectively and efficiently deal with allegations of corruption within the judicial service. So when such allegations are received by the Lady Chief Justice, it goes to the complaints unit. There may be a preliminary discussion of the allegation, and if there is merit in it, then a proper committee is set up to probe such allegations. And this is all to ensure that we have a service that is strategically placed to deal with all public sector corruption cases that is brought to our desk.
In that light, let me talk about the accommodation of the citizens' rights. Some say that some of these issues never even come to your attention, unless, of course, by a newspaper publication or some nosy journalist who gets in there. But within your own circles, when these things do happen, and all apologies to you, gentlemen, when these things do happen, you know, they are dealt with internally without the proper whip being cracked. Is that correct?
Not at all. Not at all. Indeed, I have said here before that we have the complaints unit, and citizens, court users are daily encouraged to file petitions to report allegations of extortion, corruption for being court users. And when we receive it, we don't sit on it. Even before coming to this studio this morning, in my chambers, I had to advise on 2 complaints, which is going just this morning. So on daily basis, we receive these allegations. So it is not a matter of newspaper allegations that come and then we deal with it. And when it comes, we do not just sweep it under the carpet. We are serious. We deal with it. And I must tell you, even before the Anas expose, consistently we've been dealing with allegations of corruption. Just that probably in the past, the level of exposure, the level of probably coming out to say that this and that has happened, and this is how we dealt with it, probably we were not doing it as we are doing
it's
now.
Let me come to you now. So you are with the circuit court, and we're told that the acts of corruption are amplified around there. At least these are reports that people who come to assess justice from the lower courts tell us. Is there any truth to what they say?
Well,
that there's heightened corruption at the lower courts?
I wouldn't say that is the case, but to the extent that the lower court is the point where the judiciary interface with the public,
right?
In our majority, because the lower court constitute about 70 to 80% of interaction, the justice delivery system that we have in the country, where we have the magistracy, we have the circuit judges spread all over the country. We don't have those numbers as we have in the High Courts and the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. To that extent, of course, you say that people interact and then they see issues and perceptions heighten at that level, maybe than it is in the superior court. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that is necessarily where it is situated.
If you agree to the assertion that the lower courts form a bigger chunk of the justice delivery system, and if you will, the court will be the last hope of the common man. If the common man comes to you, are they assured that they will get justice? With all the reports that we get that people are corrupt, people want to get meddlesome interlopers and get in there. What's the assurance?
I think that a lot of efforts have been taken or put in place to ensure that we increase the level of trust and confidence that we have in our
For example, what are we doing?
System. For example, the issues that Justice Cheba enumerated, the complaints unit that we have, where it's widespread. Whenever we have a judicial a court, be it the lower court or the superior court, we have the complaint unit set up to allow people in the communities who think that they did not get the justice that they deserve when they came to the judiciary for service, go make their complaint. Right. And to that extent, we ensure that people acquire the justice that they require, not to how much they are able.
Just tell me, so there are challenges. What are some of the challenges that has come to your attention which impedes on this smooth delivery of justice, which will make, for example, a court clerk want to accept no curfew from somebody? What are some of these challenges? Tell me about them.
Dealing with the challenges facing the service.
I want to know first of all the challenges,
yes,
and then we can talk about how to deal with them. What challenges have come to your attention?
The congestion, the backlog of cases.
Right.
So probably as a circuit court judge, His Honor sitting here, if on daily basis, he is dealing with about, say, an average of, say, 40 or thereabout cases a day. How much can he work?
What is the best practice?
The best practice probably for a judge in terms of his workload, not probably to exceed about, in total, about 80 cases that he's dealing with. But if he's dealing with an average of, say, 40 cases a day, then you can see the kind of pressure that comes to bear on him. It has a lot of effects.
Quality? Does it have a potential of affecting
Number one, it affects quality. Number one, it dovetails into issues of delay, because then probably you are dealing with that number of cases a day. So it slows the pace at which you can dispose of the cases.
Okay.
And if there is congestion in the court, then it provides an opportunity for probably the court staff, for court users to infiltrate and try to push their case.
Right.
Because probably the perception is that then I must do something to ensure that my case moves faster for me. So that is one of the biggest challenge we are facing.
Congestion, which may affect quality.
The court rooms that we have. And I keep saying, look, probably you've been to a court before, especially the district court.
Right.
Because per our law, we are supposed to have a district court in every district.
Right.
Some of them you go and you ask yourself, is this where justice is supposed to be dispensed from? It doesn't speak well of us. So that is also another challenge. Number three is the issue of automation, for which that is also the focus and the attention.
I thought that the former Chief Justice, Justice Theodora, did a lot of work in that direction.
Yes, she takes a lot of credit for that. But we are not done yet.
How much work
from
is
the
left to be
superior
done?
court, yes, and then for the high courts in Accra, you can say there is some level of automation, though it's not completed. But for the lower courts, we are talking about the circuit courts, we are talking about the district courts. They will have to write from morning till probably 3 o'clock, and it slows the pace at which you can move.
Your Honor, does that impede the work you do? Does that sometimes outweigh or overweigh you? Writing from morning till evening every day, 40 cases on the average?
Of course, that's the more reason why the current Chief Justice, like the previous one, have taken ICT as one of the key to facilitate the process. Because when I leave here, I'm going to write everything that you sit, you come. When you come to court, everything that you say, I have to record.
Wow.
All the key things by hand, not by anything.
So you are a stenographer secretary by default.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, I'm writing, and I'm listening, and I'm a human first of all. So it's not an easy thing. And also, there are a lot of cases that come to you, and you have to deal with them. Everybody also is in a hurry to have his matter dealt with. So can you imagine the pressure that's on you? And these are some of the things that generate those perceptions that comes in. Why is it that my case has not been dealt with and all that? Because as the case comes, you have to deal with them case by case basis. And in dealing with them, there may be some delays here and there, and people begin to have perception. Why is it that my case has delayed?
It clearly shows that we have a shortfall in the number of justices that we have. Is that the correct thing?
Well, that is number one.
Okay.
Yes, so probably we need more personnel, more hands. But more importantly, which is also the focus of this anti-corruption plan for the next 3 years, is in terms of getting the right caliber of people as judges.
I was coming there. The law says that high moral character and proven integrity. Do we have the men who have high moral character, proven integrity, and experience to be enrolled as judges?
Yes.
Do we have?
Per the constitutional mandate, that is a basic criteria that every judge, or indeed even a magistrate, must meet, together with competence.
Right.
Because to be able to do the work of judging, which I say judgeship and judgecraft, you need the skills to be able to do the work. So probably if somebody is not skillful in the work, what would take him a motion, a simple motion, to listen to a lawyer arguing a motion in court for probably 1 hour, and for the opposing lawyer to also respond for an hour. If you are efficient, if you are competent, probably you will not spend that 2 hours.
You save time.
It will not take you more than 10 minutes because probably you have read the motion, you have read the law on it. So probably when the parties and the lawyers come, it's just asking them for few clarifications here and there.
Why don't we train our people?
So that is also one of the focus. Focus on integrity. So the number one issue about training, and that probably falls squarely into the bosom of our Judicial Training Institute, just to train the judges and the magistrates to live up to their responsibility in terms of competence, in terms of integrity. And going forward too, in terms of recruitment, what kind of people, lawyers, are we recruiting as judges, as magistrates? We must ensure that indeed they meet the criteria. Indeed, you can be the most brilliant judge, but in terms of integrity, if you fall short, all your law is nothing.
Integrity, ethics, which is why I come to you now, Your Honor, Abwajitando. So there's all the perception that, look, the lower courts, and that's a fact, the lower courts will work on their own merit and also to the higher courts. But then there's a perception of political interference. Is it the case? Does it exist at all? Political interference where somebody has a case with another person and, you know, a high-handed person says, let the case go this way.
Well, as a person, I've not experienced that. And I've not also heard somebody who tells me that that is what it has to, or because somebody told me not to do this or to do this, and I did that. You see, the key thing is that as judges, we have our independence. And if you want to talk about your competence and integrity, it also depends on your ability to stay independent and competent and efficient in the work that you do. If somebody comes to tell you, because it's in political party A or B, and you toe the line of one particular political party, so you know what it means?
Tell me.
Where lies the trust and confidence?
Right.
Why wouldn't I think that party B will also do the same thing if the burden is higher than what I have done? So if you want to remain competent, of course, every person, whether political or non-political, citizenry, everybody will want a competent, just person to deal with his matter.
Right.
So if
you are speaking for yourself, and some of your colleagues have been fingered in that direction, that look, they have allowed certain influences to come to play and justice is not being served in the interest of some people.
Perceptions reign everywhere. So it does not necessarily mean that because a particular decision was taken, then it was political. Not in all instances.
If you
I'm not
for example,
ruling out the possibility of such a thing happening. Politicians, like the ordinary citizen, everybody, when he has a matter, even as Ghanaians, everybody will want the matter to go this way or that way.
A critical situation would be, for example, if you administer a court in a district, as Justice Chebabo said, and you don't have the facilities, and the DC, for example, houses you, gives you access to a computer and other things, and the DCE has an issue, or an offshoot of the DCE has an issue, and it comes with that influence, are you able to withstand it?
Why not? Because everybody has a duty to perform. The DCE has a duty to perform within the district. He has a duty to make sure that those facilities, for example, they have to assess in providing the magistrate with his residence.
But when they are not there and the influence comes, what do you do?
Well, influences can come from all angles and at all levels and from all persons. If you want to remain independent, you will. If you don't want to remain independent, no matter the facilities they give you or the deprivation that you find yourself, you will be. That is a fact.
I thank you very much, gentlemen. We've got to go. I'm sorry, Harriet is not excited about it, but I thank you very much, Justice Chebabo. Grateful for your time, and we'll have an extended conversation shortly. And His Honor, just Abuachi Tando as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Let the conversation about corruption and how we can use the judiciary to fight against it progress as we move along. We'll be back after this break.
It's the month of love, and of course, Media General is giving you a platform to celebrate your loved ones. Speaking to this, I have Kenneth Addo. He's the head of lifestyle events and entertainment here at MG. So, Kenneth, let's delve into it. No time wasting, because when you talk about love, it's a serious issue for most people.
Definitely. I think today you got it right.
Right.
You eventually got the name
yes.
and the position right. That's fine. So, the month of love is here, and of course, anytime I come here, I bring exciting news, people out there should know. The promo played earlier, and what's happening is that on 3FM 92.7, Onia 95.1 and Connect 97.1 FM in Takrade, we're putting together this honeymoon package for couples. So what we initially said was, okay, so if you're getting married in the month of love, February, then this is an opportunity for you to win this package, for you to go and spend the weekend at Holy Trinity Spa in Sogakope. Now, what happened was that we started a promotion last week. We got a lot of calls coming in, and people were like, we're not being fair to them. We are not, treating those who just got married in January and people who are already married. So what's happening to that? And then we said, okay, we think about them. We want to be fair and square like 3FM. We want to think about them like Onia FM. And we want to walk with them like Connect FM. And so, yes, we have realigned everything, and we said, okay, if you just got married, a newly married couple, there's an opportunity for you. Phone in to Urban Blend on 3FM, Easy Stream on 3FM, and of course, Onia FM too as well.
Well. Unfortunately, news coming in is that Super Odi, the veteran actor, has just passed on about an hour ago. I'm sure most of you remember him from all the drama series that he partook in. Of course, he captured the stage of acting here in Ghana. He made a big name for himself. Unfortunately, Ghana seems to be rocked by many unfortunate news in this week and last week also. We certainly commemorate with the family. Our hearts go out to you. Our condolences to the family. May you be strong in this trying time. But you, of course, are an event, lifestyle, and entertainment. So you have met or encountered Super Odi.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we did a story on him last year. Usuarai went to his house in surgery to do a story on him. He wasn't in a good condition at the time. I mean, Odi was over 80. And so, I mean, he's so rest in peace. We cannot talk too much about him now. He's done a lot for the industry. And so we cannot say entertainment has grown without Odi. Condolences to the family and sympathies as well. It's just coming in,
with Valentine's, I know. But I'm sure people will still find some space to celebrate. We must celebrate those who are alive and also celebrate with those who mourn or mourn with them. But anyway, that is the news coming in. But also, Ochiame Kwame and his wife will be passing through the studio tomorrow to talk about their program, which is celebrating love, because we're in the month of love. collab, and it's called Flaunt Your Lover. So certainly tomorrow you want to stay tuned. You don't want to change this TV station because, of course, we bring you the best, nothing but the best here on TV3 New Day, right from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. But guys, it's time for us to wrap up. We have to leave you with the good news or bad news, whichever way you want to take it. But Super Odi has gone to be with his maker. We do say our hearts goes out to the family. May they be strong, and certainly he will be remembered on the land of Ghana because he did change the scene of acting here. But tomorrow, guys, Johnny and Bright will still be here with me from 6 to 9, and we'll bring you a good time. It's Tuesday. Go out there and stay blessed. Do your best because God expects it from you and I. You may not live to see tomorrow, so give off your best today. I will see you same time tomorrow. Ken, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Of course, they should tune in and make sure that they are part of these Valentine promotions that we are running on all the media general platforms.
We'll see you same time tomorrow, guys.
Mama said, my baby, shine your